What's up? It's been forever, I know. I haven't posted any reviews for I think a couple months, I think at least, or almost. And yeah, I apologize for that, but hey, and I'm not gonna try to feed you guys excuses, but I guess I don't know, I just got really preoccupied. Yeah, there was kind of from the ultimate standpoint of it, I guess you could say it's maybe a bit of a selfish. I was kind of lazy and stuff working. Even just a few days a week can kind of suck all the time out, and I'm kind of allocating my time towards writing a book and trying to do music every once in a while, and I spread myself too thin, and I know that. So, and even though some of these reviews could, and I also keep setting too high of a standard for myself too. I think there's a part of me that wants to make these long, sprawling, hour-long reviews and stuff, which honestly I haven't even done maybe only a couple of those, but I try to do at least 20 minutes or something. I feel like I'm kind of cheating, or I'm not giving a thorough, exhaustive review of a novel, especially if it's a really topical, thematic one, something like Crime and Punishment, which but yeah, I'm gonna try to keep them shorter now, even if they are kind of longer books. And the good news is that I think I've dwelled on some of these books a little bit. There's some of them that are fresher, I think, and one of them is House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski, and really enjoyed this. Although enjoy is, I don't know if it's a apt term. I mean, it was a change of scenery, definitely, and definitely what goes pretty dark. I'll try to give a kind of brief synopsis without giving away kind of the salient plot details, without spoiling it for you guys, because it is an experience of yourself. And I can tell you right off the bat that basically, yes, I feel horrible about this, but once you get into the book, I'll explain more about how it's considered ergonic literature, where it's some parts of it gets pretty. It's some of it's one sentence per page. Other parts of it's you have to turn it around, kind of. Hence the Greek word, I believe, ergonomic. I think I've heard. I don't know if that's the same as ergonic, but I think the Greek word ergo, I think, means to work or to move or movement, I think. So yeah, it's a pretty fitting term for the novel, because it's really and again, going back to I'll dive into that later, but the MacGuffin of this is that it's you can see right on the cover, it's by Zampano, with an introduction by Johnny Truant, but you kind of get right off the bat from Johnny Truant's kind of perspective diving into this, and he's basically a tattoo artist living in California somewhere. I can't remember. It's Los Angeles. And he is working at this place, and he's also trying to move in. At the beginning of the novel, he's trying to move into a new apartment, and his friend, I think he just refers to as Lude. He never, actually, reveals his last name as far as I'm concerned. And his name also himself is a kind of a nom de plume. I think it's Johnny Truant, but he never actually fully reveals it later on. So, but yeah, he stumbles upon this new apartment, and with his friend Lude is showing him and giving him a tour, and he's kind of a transitional phase in his life, and he stumbles upon this old man Zampano, and again, you're not sure if that's actually his real name or not, but it's inferred that he's foreign, I think, originally, and he's blind too, and basically what he finds in the apartment is that it's very haunting. Right off the bat, you get kind of this nightmarish kind of tunnel vision into this apartment, and you're kind of given this very potent kind of description of the smell, the acrid stench of all these different things. And basically Zampano has been scrawling this very long thesis, this exegesis, with so many different parts, and it's maddening, very in-depth, detailed analysis of what's only known as the Davidson records. And basically, from then, the narrative switches kind of back and forth between Zampano. Well, actually, from Johnny Truant's overall, his purview into this whole thing, and then it's from, I think, Zampano. That's where the brunt of the Davidson records, and then basically the Davidson records is based on the works of Will Davidson. The character here is that he is a photojournalist, and I've heard that he's loosely based off of the famous photographer Kevin Carter from South Africa, who took the very famous, really iconic photo of the young Sudanese girl that's like, hunched over, like, he's like basically an infant, basically, like can't be more than like, I don't know, maybe 1 year old. He's trying to like crawl her way towards a feeding station, and she's there's this vulture, just like very ominous, like lurking in the background, just like kind of like waiting there. And basically, Kevin Carter committed suicide like a few months after taking that photograph. I believe in 1994, and yeah, because it haunted him so much. Not only that, but a myriad of other things he saw. Like, I think he saw like a necklacing, which is this horrible form of kind of a punitive execution where, I mean, I don't want to get into like the hoary details here, but like it's basically you set a tire on fire around somebody's head, and it kind of like binds them, and they can't escape because I think like multiple people are bound together in this thing. And I think like, people, and if you've heard about how it goes down, or dare say even watch some of the videos of this, which I really dissuade you doing, but there's this, it's so awful because there's like this, they'll push you, like the kids are trying to escape, and like they'll even like force them to stay there, like at knife point, like this mob of people, because it's really not to denigrate like Africa and say like, oh, they're so inferior to our ways and our like, because obviously colonialization of Africa too, that hasn't helped at all. It's like it's like you're not gonna like you can't like change their minds. You can't like lead a horse. You can lead a horse to water type of thing, and it's like, and it's basically, yeah, it's like kind of more of a mob mentality a little bit more in some of these areas, and yeah, it's just like horrific, and you can understand why that can kind of imprint itself indelibly on somebody's soul. Like you could, and leading him to, like if you read Carter's suicide note, it's like he's like, I've seen so many things, I just can't live with these things, and I hope to join, like he mentions, like one of his friends, I think, like if I'm that lucky. So yeah, going back to the novel here, you basically get that sense, a similar sense, that he's kind of like almost a pastiche of like that photojournalist who's seen like too far into the dark, into the crevices of human psychology, and like the darkness of human nature. And there's a very similar thing where he refers to this young girl, I think like Delisle. He keeps referring to like this Belial girl that's very an obvious reference to the young girl that Kevin Carter sees, and that really wears him down. Like he's like thinking about that. So by the time he goes into the Davidson thing, where Will Davidson, his partner, Karen, but they have 2 children, Chad and Daisy, I believe their names, and they live in a house, and they just moved into this house, and this is where the Davidson records starts off, I think, and basically the house is there's an uncanny feature with the house, like a geometrical feature rather, that is very unsettling. And the fact is that it's a quarter of an inch smaller on the inside than it is on the outside, I think, or it could be the other way around. Something like very kind of minute, right? Like it doesn't sound like something that would really bear that much impact, and like, but it soon starts to things starts to disseminate a little bit. Like they soon find out that there's other things in the house, like very portentous type spirits, or things that they think are spirits or something, and their 2 kids end up like stumbling upon and getting lost kind of in the hallway, and there's this whole entire segment very this is where the book gets pretty scattered, as you recall, called the 5.5 minutes segment, I think, and that's the 5.5 minute hallway, I think, and that's probably like the worst part when Navidson starts recruiting the help of his brother, who his brother's kind of Tom Navidson is like kind of like, not that's the exact opposite, but they're kind of, they're pretty different. Their differences are obvious enough that it's like they strike against each other. Like Tom Davidson's more less ambitious, not career driven, not just very kind of like likable. He's like a cordial guy. Like like the parts from the point of Tom are very kind of upbeat. Like he tries to keep he's a lot more sanguine, I'd say, than Will. So yeah, it's like an interesting foil. And then there's he gets them, and then there's another a engineer. Gosh, I can't remember his name, but they try getting this engineer to help out, and then they get like these really I think these people that Will Navidson worked with prior, like these two mountaineers, I think 2 or 3 of them, and they're kind of like these crude people that kind of like they show up and they kind of I'm not really sure, like they're if a diamond in the rough, like they're clearly talented and they're clearly like get the job done types, and they're rugged, and they can go through the geometrical hell that is the Navidson house. And it's basically that they kind of like also cause a ruckus too, like they kind of like cause divisions and dissents and unsettling things, and kind of rile up the house a little bit too, because it is an interesting type of thing that I thought. This is the unreliable narrator, classic kind of trope that is used a lot in kind of this more experimental type of fiction that I found really interesting, because it's very hard to tell who is, when you get from the Johnny Truant, like his life and how it clashes against how this Navidson record starts affecting it, because he's seeing it through it's like kind of like 3 narrators deep, I think, because it's very metafiction, I think, in the sense that Johnny Truant is kind of is trying to finish out and trying to do some justice to this Navidson record, because he's like, it's like it really is a work of genius, but basically Zampana is revealed to be kind of a mad, kind of a manic figure, that kind of was on the brink of insanity too, and he like his own. You see at certain points like Johnny Truant's, his point of view is written in like typeset, I think, like a typewriter, and then you see, I think Zampana's is like not Times New Roman, but some type of I'm not sure what it is, but definitely something very, you can definitely tell the difference. And like I said, it's very typographical novel, challenges typeset. There's a lot of different fonts, and sometimes it goes down to like very like small, and sometimes it's like upside down, so you have to turn it around, and there's like newspaper clippings. It's like very I'm not gonna lie and say that it's an easy read. I mean, I feel bad because I kind of soldier through it, like kind of like getting through the trying to force myself to read it every day, but at the same time I think with that I kind of lost a bit of the kind of so like I wish I would have like taken my time a little bit more with it, but yeah, I do highly recommend. Again, it's not for everybody. There are some people that say that I think the author Mark Danielewski was saying that some people describe it as saving their lives, because it like kind of goes into the depths of, it wrestles with those type of topics, and it kind of shines a light into the dark. It's kind of easy to write this book off as needlessly dark, needlessly people often describe it as horror, but I think even the author himself says that it's actually kind of more of a romance as well. I mean, the kind of the you kind of see like an interesting dynamic between Karen and Navidson. Like their relationship is very, they go through very tough times. You can see they care for each other, and then there's also like a big revelation at the end, which I'm not going to give away too much, with Johnny Truant, where, you know, you kind of get the sense that he's almost like a ghostly type character. Like he's like working at this tattoo shop, and he's like, and it's a little bit more dismal, I think. Like his day-to-day life, like he's like, you know, surrounded by drug use and like kind of like very like promiscuity of like L.A. and that the culture of like the late 90s, I think. And it's like he's just kind of like delving into this depression, trying to like figure out like why, like how to finish this, you know, this record. It's like eluding him. And yeah, but then you get like kind of a revelation at the end where you kind of see why Johnny Truant, and hence I think the namesake Truant is because of his truancy and the fact that when he was young he didn't really have like a father figure to kind of look after him, and he you know, had a very loving mother, and you'll see that in the letters from his mother, I think. And yeah, from there it seems like the novel kind of tapers off a little bit. Like you kind of see a little bit of a criticism on I'd say like literary criticism, if that makes sense. Like it's kind of poking fun a little bit at from what I've heard at that form, I guess, of kind of just the, you know, these highbrow type, you know, like not to say Harold Bloom or anything like that, or you know, Northrop Rye, but like those are, you know, kind of in that vein, following suit of the tradition of just kind of just sitting there and being like, well, the actual reason behind why you know, this movie is this way, or why this book is this is blah blah blah, and they're just kind of waxing, you know, philosophical, or, you know, just for, you know, long stretches and just going on and on. I think you like that you'll see long segments like that in the novel because it's actually poking fun at it, which kind of reminds me a lot. Well, it's kind of that's a syzygy type of oxymoron I just said there, kind of. But you know, it reminds me a good bit of like David Foster Wallace, because he talked a lot about like, or he poked fun at those kind of like very tongue-in-cheek ironical types where it's like it's very hard to tell like when they're being serious and not, and they're kind of like covering up everything and saying, you know, shielding themselves in like 10 layers deep or more of, and that's kind of what postmodernism you know, kind of led to a little bit of kind of like the demise of sincerity. I think like people couldn't just say genuinely how they feel, you know, and they kind of like, you know, were like very kind of harshly, you know, they dismissive, I think, of forms of art that were like sincere or like romantic, or so that's why I think I gleaned a little bit of that, is like there is definitely, you know, while being the preface that while appearing like a horror novel, it actually has like some very sincere you know, like meaningful parts, I think, that, you know, because I don't think it's just shocking for the sake of shocking. But yeah, it's definitely very very yeah, experimental, offbeat, kind of hectic to get used to that style, but yeah, I definitely recommend it. And yeah, House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski, and I'll try to keep you guys posted. I'm going to try to read more of his novels in the coming times. I think his other ones are like The Following, and yeah, Only Revolutions is another one. So yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on that. So